Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. I am Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here this afternoon with our new friends. And in case we crash, Simon and Alex, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you guys for having us. I am Simon. I play guitar and I sing. And
I am Alex. I play guitar as well. And yeah, thank you guys for having us on this afternoon chat.
Yeah. Usually you're like, oh, what's a fun fact about yourself? But I've gotten tired of doing that sort of like job interview shit when we have people on. Yeah, the icebreaker shit. So I don't know if you want to throw a fun fact about yourself out there or not, but
I can do it. I wear my socks inside out always.
What?
Interesting.
Because I don't like how the seam rubs against. I'm kind of like the princess and the pea. If there's like a little tiny pebble in my shoe, I can feel it.
Okay.
So, and same thing. Like I don't like that seam touching my toe knuckles. So I flip my socks inside out.
That's really not
I've never
crazy.
That.
See, once you try it, you'll understand. And then it sounds weird, but it's actually really good.
Like that might actually be the way to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody ever asked you, like, if you have your socks like out for like fashion purposes? They're like, "What are you doing there?" You're like, "It's fashion. It's innovation. Don't talk about it."
I should, but the thing is, I don't think anybody would think it looks fashionable because if you do have a design, you should see how they look when you turn them inside out. They look horrible. So
You have to buy just only plain black socks from the store or something.
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
have any of that worry.
Yeah, literally just black socks. That's all I wear.
Alex, do you have a fun fact?
Okay, well, I'm actually not Canadian. I'm from Ukraine. I moved here when I was like 17. So like it's gonna be like 10 years in a couple years soon. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you guys are actually our first Canadian guests, I think, on the podcast. I'm gonna embarrass myself and be like, somebody else from Canada is gonna be like, "Hey, come on, guys." But yeah, you're our first Canadian guest, and now you're our first Ukrainian guest. So there you go.
And now our drummer Kyle is actually from United States. He's in New York, so we're like international band.
That's less cool. Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Less cool.
Yeah, I guess.
I agree. No, it'd be cool if he lived here because then we could like hang out more often.
Yeah.
We could actually jam right now.
You could actually jam right now. Yeah. Like, so you haven't been practicing then because nobody can go over the border.
Yeah, you can't enter.
And even if they were here, like for the longest time, we still wouldn't have been allowed to. So it's not like it didn't make that much of a difference that he's in New York. It's like,
I think it's going to be allowed in July. Yeah, I think it's going to be allowed in July. Right? Is it allowed from this Friday or no?
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
All the rules are changing at a moment's notice. Day before it happens.
Like right now, like I couldn't even go and like to a closing store. I couldn't even go buy a spatula because like that's not essential.
The hell?
What? But what if you need to flip your pancakes? That's essential to eat.
I don't know. It was like they made some questionable choices, honestly. Like some of them made sense and some of them were like, why?
Yeah, they're just trying shit, seeing what works and what doesn't.
Figure it out.
At our expense. So
At our expense.
Yeah.
So we have you on because you're releasing some new music. We checked out your new music video for Found a Home, which is out tomorrow, or as we're recording this. So when it comes out on Monday, it'll be this past Friday. It's out now. Everybody can watch it. We watched it this morning, and I gotta say, I loved it. I like the video. Really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, glad you did.
Have you been kind of forced to do all of these videos obviously you can't have the band all together right now. So we've been doing a lot of videos like just in quarantine and like doing whatever kind of comes to mind what you can do without having everybody in a room together.
Yeah, like that's definitely like what we've had to adapt to. I think specifically for this video, the thing is it would have come out this way either way. Like I don't think it wasn't our situation that informed this idea. Like say like, oh, we can't be together. It was actually just more like we had a concept and it could be pulled off without us being together, which was a bonus, right? But definitely like in general though, yeah, we're trying to think outside the box of ways we could still have creative videos while we wait for things to kind of, shift into a more normal time.
For me, I feel like I've seen like the same video from like pop punk bands like over and over. And at some point it just gets like boring and we want to try something new. And we've always been kind of this like DIY mindset band and we always try to like come up with our own ideas. So I don't know. sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think this one was really fun.
Yeah, like exactly like he said. Like we could have done lots of videos which are, you know, like just the generic, oh, I'm in the bedroom, or and you're playing your song. Like I've seen a lot of bands do it lately, and it was cool at first because it was new, but now like literally like everybody's doing it, and that's when we don't want to do it. You know, we want to stand out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And people are tired of being reminded of that, you know?
Yeah.
Like the stop motion aspect of it, even though you had like the little, like the filter for like you guys singing on it, which I thought was like really funny too, for these little felt dolls that you have. It's like different. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like Panic at the Disco when they had that little weird creepy puppet thing, but like these little felt guys are not creepy in comparison.
Yeah.
That was like the vibe it was giving me. I'm like, oh, we haven't seen anything like this before. It's like, it is very refreshing because it's just different. Instead of also like, I mean, I know a lot of bands, you got to do what you got to do in quarantine. Like, it's not just a phone video or whatever. It's like, I made these little doll things out of, you know, depression or whatever it is. And that's it. And this is what we're doing. And I think that's just like really cool.
Yeah, like the idea was that like we didn't want it to feel like a quarantine music video, right? Like it's like yes, it could have been, it was pulled off with those constraints, but we don't want that to be like, we don't want people to watch that and be like, oh yeah, I remember, because there's gonna come a time where like, we're a few years down the road and it's just like you're gonna look back on this time and you're like, I don't want to remember this. I don't want to remember this. Like so any video that is like so directly like, you know, a parent of the times, it's going to have a bit of like a sour taste in your mouth, right? You're, you know, like the old quarantine days. Yeah. You know, like
the old quarantine days.
Yeah. Let's just leave those behind. And that's why, we want to put out music videos that don't remind people that we've been in a crap hole for the last like year and a half, almost 2 years. So not 2 years, but like a year and a half.
Yeah.
It feels like 2 years.
It'll feel like
it's coming in on it. And it's always, I was talking to Brian the other night. I'm like, yeah, 2 years ago at this music festival. And I was like, I didn't like that. I know it's correct, but I don't like saying that.
Yeah, it feels like eternity ago. To me. Like to me, it just feels like a really like long year, where it's just like one same months repeated over and over.
It's still March 2020 to me. Even June 2021. So like it's still March. Really fucking weird.
Yeah, time stands still.
I love the thought process though of like we don't want it to look like a quarantine music video. Do you think that like a lot of people have started bands? A lot of people, I know you guys were around before quarantine started, so you'd already had some material out there and been doing some stuff for a while. But a lot of bands obviously started in quarantine and they've made all of their content in quarantine. Like, do you think that like it's gonna feel dated? Do you think that like when we come out of this, that like bands are going to have to go and play shows and like all the music is going to feel like it still has that vibe of being in quarantine? Or do you feel like, you know, we can come out of this and like the feeling of the music and like the I guess the music was kind of hopeless, right? Like a lot of the quarantine music felt very hopeless. And now you're like going to go out into the real world again. And everyone's like super stoked to see people in person. But you're playing music that's like really sad when you couldn't leave your house. Like, I wonder if it's going to feel dated or if it's going to feel like, you know, different, like when we're actually playing it live or something.
That's a really good question. Yeah, like I didn't say anything in that period of time, so didn't lose anything. Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And I think like you hit on a point that like, once again, I see a lot of bands that are putting out music that like has a lot of references to how we were feeling during this time. And it's like, it's the same idea where, yeah, okay, it's cool right now because maybe some people can relate to it, but in a year, that music is going to be so dated. Nobody's going to want to hear you singing about quarantine while we're finally out and doing stuff again. Nobody's going to want to hear that. And so that we try to avoid that too. Like, luckily, like the music that we put out right at the start of, you know, the thing was already coming out. So it had no influence from quarantine. And then even so with like the new material we're working on, it's just like, we're not trying to be a timepiece of like the quarantine era. It's more just like, maybe you'll hear something that you think you could apply to quarantine, like, oh, but it also like I could apply that to my life before quarantine, you know, being isolated and lonely and inside, right? Like it doesn't have to exclusively be because of quarantine or whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, no, like it's not gonna, for us, it's not gonna be like a timepiece of the quarantine era. And I definitely don't recommend bands, like newer bands, do that, because I've heard I've been like kind of working with some other bands on the side who help them write a little bit. And I'm just like, I don't want to hear about how much time even like how you feel stuck inside. Like, we know. And like, I empathize, but we know, everybody knows how you feel.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. As Simon said, you could also feel like write a song that says about how you feel, but you can also apply to like something else, and you can rely on it like, yeah, kind of like in a variety of different situations. You can still relate. But yeah, was our like last EP was interesting because it was finished like way before quarantine started, and then we had to put out all the music videos and do things in 2020. Like, we put out like one video before it started for Garden, and then after that we had to do like 3 videos, kind of.
Yeah, and the second video, so like that one, like the second video too, we shot before quarantine. But even so, with that video, or our videos from the previous EP, even though a lot of them or most of them came out during like the start of this, like we tried to make sure that doesn't really like look like that. It's not like so memorable of the time.
I think that's really interesting. I was like just on TikTok the other day, and there's a bunch of like, oh, like imagine in like 20 years and like your kids are coming back from school and they're like, oh, hey, like we learned about COVID. Can you tell us? And everybody's like trauma intensifies again. And I think like, I think everybody's right here when we're like talking about like, we need to remove ourselves from it and just be like, hey, we have to just like move on from it, which I know in some situations you don't want to do that. You want to deal with whatever you're doing. But I think for this, it's better to have just be looking forward and ahead instead of just kind of dwelling on all this like terribleness that has been going on. And when you were talking about like having to put out your music you already put out and produced during when quarantine was happening, it must have been very different. I mean, how was like the fan reception when it came to these other like non-quarantine, I'm like stuck in my house sad type of like music that you were putting out?
The funny thing is we didn't really have many fans before quarantine. Like, but that I feel it's coincidental. Like, I feel like we would have gained some following anyway from the music we were putting out, but it's also like, it's hard to like think of it another way because we didn't really like, I mean, of course we love everybody who's been supporting us for like the 6 years that we've been a band, but really like we've been pretty small stuff for like 4 or 5 of those years.
Yeah,
so
it was interesting because I feel like Soul Pain DP was where we kind of grew an actual following and went from kind of like a very local band level to something where like, oh, this is actually like clicking with people and we can do this. But it was all like kind of put out in quarantine, so it is interesting because we didn't even see like the fan reception to like shows and stuff like that for those songs because we never actually played them live.
Yeah, but we're still grateful. We're like still like surprised that people were so into it, given what was going on. Because I know it's like there's a bit of like brain fog, and there's just so much news and information flying at you. It's hard to just like, find your way through that and maybe find some entertainment, like some music, whatever, and be a committed fan. Because that requires effort, and sometimes it's like a give and take. Like it's wonderful if a band's giving you like content that you really like and like music you really enjoy, and you're now like putting effort into keeping up with them and like all that stuff, right? It's a symbiotic relationship, but that's much harder during quarantine because you've got the burden of everything else on your shoulders. So we were amazed that people were willing to give that to us despite everything they have going on,
Yeah, like honestly, despite everything we have going on, super thankful for all the love from our fans, people who supported us, because we didn't really have a PR team. We didn't really have kind of anything. It was just all kind of organic support we kind of started seeing, and it was really cool. So to whoever's watching it, thank you for listening.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people got a lot of fan, like what you're saying, with dedicating themselves to an artist, dedicating themselves to like finding new entertainment during the quarantine. Obviously, a lot of people creating stuff, but also just there being more things to consume, more things to like go out and finding new bands. I mean, that's basically how we found you, is like Lizzie brought the Soul Paint video to one of our DJ streams that we do, and we were both and everybody in the stream was just like, holy shit, this is really good. Like we were like having a conversation, and then I like kind of was like, hold on, we need to come back to this. This song is great. Like I think it's just, I think people open themselves up to more different kinds of content, more different kinds of things. And honestly, like, I feel like more people have been looking for like things that they like, which is weird because I found like a lot of people hate on everything for no reason all the time. But it's like now people are like, I want to like things. I want to find things that I like. And in the case of your band, it was like, it was easy to find a band we liked. Like, here you go. And now we like want to support and all that.
I noticed that as well. Like, I found that I just have like more time to kind of reflect, and it was like, and it's just having more time. It's just be like, oh, I need to find new things I enjoy now that I'm not like busy and not doing everything all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. You know, like it's now when your hobbies matter the most, because that's what's going to get you through the day.
Yeah. Like, I hung out with some friends for the first time since like 14 months. I hadn't seen them in 14 months. And when I met back up with them, one of them was like really into K-pop beforehand. And the other one was like, I don't understand it. And they were both like, yeah, I found out, actually gave it time to sink in during quarantine. And now I'm like super into K-pop. They forced me to learn some K-pop dance. I don't know what happened, but like, it definitely plays into like, you need to find new hobbies, and you also need to like, just kind of like sit back and be like, have I given this enough chance and time to like simmer with me to see if it's something that I thoroughly enjoy? And like, even finding a new hobby of like looking for new music. I mean, there's been so many people I have on like my personal Twitter who are like, I didn't know like I could be like a music writer or like a music journalist. And then they're like, oh, I can do that now because everything's kind of a mess, and there's like so much more like capabilities and opportunities for it. And I think finding that has helped a lot of people with also just like new music discovery, which in turn just brings so many more projects that didn't have as much as a following before COVID, bring that out more. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, you're like, I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore, but also at the same time, it's like good in one way because it's helped us grow.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, because I honestly saw a bunch of bands break up, but I also saw a bunch of bands that didn't have following before grow online and find their audience.
I think a lot of people learned you have to make content right now, which obviously with the new video and all the other videos you've made like for this EP is like clearly a thing that every band needs to do, is like make music videos, do whatever you can to put out something, because a lot of those bands I think are just like not making internet content, I guess. And like they didn't know.
People forget that you're an entertainer, right? Like, that's your job. You're supposed to entertain people. And if you don't have like shows to, at least the bare minimum, you don't have shows to entertain people with, like, you've got to direct that somewhere else. You can't just sit around, because then it's just then you're only doing it for you, and that's kind of like selfish, right? You know, I mean, like, obviously everybody does this for themselves because they need to, like, if they feel that need, but you also need to build that relationship with other people that want you to do this, and they need to, you need to entertain them, right? If they're going to give you their attention, you need to show them something that is going to make them happy or sad in a good way, or you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, it's like, I think like right now I just think like, how did I feel as like a teenager discovering all my favorite bands, and why did I get into them? So I want to give people like the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Mike.
and I've definitely seen that on like your guys' TikTok too, because you guys are always like putting fun stuff out. I'm like, oh, this is so cool to like see bands just doing this, especially you guys. And
it's like we're just getting warmed up too. Like once things are like, we can all be in the same room, like we're gonna bombard people with content. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right now it's like, even like, but it's also been cool to learn to do it even with like limitations, because now I feel like we're gonna be a lot better at it when we don't have any limitations.
Yeah, that's the exact thing. Like, if we can do all this now while there's a huge heavy limitation on us, like, things are gonna breeze by a little bit better once we're back to a normal of some sort.
Do you think, like, I liked what you said about like you can't do shows, so you have to do like online content, you have to create videos, you have to entertain in some way. Do you think like obviously that'll still continue? Do you think it's like still going to be like tours, going around everywhere and like making the content the same way? Do you think it's still going to be like at the same frequency? Like, where do you think the path goes from here now that everybody's going to be going back out, hopefully sooner than later? But do you think it's going to go where there's going to be more in-person content? Do you think there's going to be more on demand content is what I've been kind of referring to it as. But
so you see, what I found throughout the whole this is online content became more personal. If you look at like TikTok or like everything that's coming, that's more like personal and more like raw content. So I think the online is kind of like a lot of it is here to stay, but it doesn't mean that anything in person is going away. I feel like once shows and everything and tours are back, they'll be like equally important as they were before.
I think it's going to be like a wild, wild west of content because everyone's going to want to post about what they're doing. You know, like they're going to be like, hey, look at me. I'm at this concert. I'm at this restaurant. Like, and, but at the same time, in that way, things might go back to like a little more of a, you have to kind of like seek out the content you want to see because now, like, since everybody's always making content, like you can kind of like, you just get fed stuff. But when there's so much of it, like you're gonna have to actively like block out like stuff that you don't want to see because you'll see everybody in your friends list doing stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, the thing is, that's why I actually like TikTok is you can like scroll down and you can like hold on the video and just press. I don't want to see this type of content, and like after like a few days, it only shows you like literally just the things you want to see, and that's it. And I feel like other platforms don't have that. Like on Instagram, I'm just seeing everything, right?
Yeah, I've been saying curation is what's necessary for the entire internet.
Yeah, like personalized content. Like I work like my side actually from home job. Well, like the band is we're not touring or anything. Is CBC, which is like news, and like the heaviest thing like that's there right now is like personalizing the content, like showing people the news that they want to see instead of showing them everything.
Yeah,
or let them do it at least.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm all for curated like media and content for people, except when it has like a political political undertone or like a misinformation because then like you enter a bubble that you can't like that doesn't include like factual resources and stuff.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
When you create it for yourself, not somebody else creates it for you.
Yeah, if you can actively participate in like, because I think that's like the healthiest way to like receive your content is if you can actively participate in like choosing what you see. Even so, though, like I feel like the whole algorithmic thing, we obviously saw like the backspin of that where it had incredibly horrible adverse effects. So
I just wanted to be curious because I don't want to see like certain like dumb shit on TikTok. I'm just like, I don't want like videos of people's babies. I'm like, I don't care. Like, can I tell you just to never show me this shit ever again? And like, how do I
like my friend or something? I don't want to see your baby, right?
Yeah. And like, even then I'm like, dude, get your baby out of here. Get him out of the text.
Yeah.
Get him out of the text thread.
Get the baby out the stream. They don't belong here.
Baby out the stream.
Yeah. If I wanted to see baby videos, I'd have a kid and take videos myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is though, all those platforms, they're trying to keep us as like users for longer on their platforms. So they're going to make it better for us.
Yeah. As long as, I mean, I agree with you, but like, as long as it's still doing really well for like musicians, because I think TikTok has really just blown up because, especially in like our space, in music space, because it's really good for musicians. It allows you to put songs in there. People can find stuff pretty organically, like just come across a song they really like. People can share it and say, hey, I really dig this song. Like everybody should know this song. People can make content videos specifically for TikTok. Like it just
it's because it's because TikTok you can reach other people like organically. No other platform have that. When you post on Instagram or Facebook, you just post for people who already follow you. If you post on TikTok, you kind of post for everyone, and if people like it, it will blow up. So
there was less of a need for it before all this happened. Like for creatives and musicians alike, like there's a lot less need for TikTok because TikTok is a very spontaneous thing, and like you get a lot of that spontaneity when you like say go to shows or events and whatnot, and then you make content of those events, and that becomes personal because it's like, wow, like they're in the small, like it becomes very personalized. But when you can't go out and do stuff and be places, that's where like TikTok came in. It's a very personalized version of the content that we're used to seeing, and that's why it became so essential for creatives alike.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have a
TikTok.
question?
Yeah, TikTok is its own animal, but we could pivot to talking more about like your different music that you're getting ready to drop. So you have more singles coming soon. And just in general, I've seen that you guys have done just like 2 EPs beforehand. So are you sticking with that model also going forward, or would you start to look at doing a fully produced album?
It's a good question. So to start, we've actually put out 3 EPs, but I don't blame you because nobody heard the first one. So don't even worry about that. And yeah, so like I think we can at least tell you now that like there's definitely what we're working on now is definitely different than what we've done before. We don't want to get into the habit of just like, because it's kind of like relating us back to like modern content creation and people's demands for new content. We don't want to just be like a single band or like a EP only band, which so many artists are, because they think like all the internet gurus are telling you, just put out singles, just put out 3 or 4 song EPs. That's it. And they think that's all that being a band is just getting new followers, right? That's the idea, is that you'll constantly get new people into your music if you just put out a single, and that every single you treat it like a big release, right? But there's no like anchor at the end of that chain, you know? There's nothing that people are really going to attach onto if you just keep out putting on little singles and videos. It's like, okay, cool, but like, what am I following you guys for? Like, am I going to actually get something I can physically hold in my hands now? Like, so that's the kind of thing that I don't like about the modern landscape of music, is that artists are too encouraged to just put out singles or just put out EPs, as you know, like quite frequent. And we want to have like something a little more solid attached to the end of the chain that really like creates an era, gets people hooked into this era, kind of basically like an old school, like, you know, if you look at like early 2000s bands, how they have like distinct eras and distinct like visuals and all that stuff. You know, I think that's really important for us to take the next step and to get more people into our realm and kind of like create this like synosphere of an experience that, because you can't really do that with singles, right? You can get people interested in a song, they put it on a playlist, and cool, they'll listen to it for the next few months. Like, big deal. We want people to experience something with us and to feel like they're part of something, right? And you can't do that if you're just putting out one song at a time. So I hope that answers the question. It's a little bit lengthy, so I apologize.
No, I agree
for
with
that.
It's kind of the need to have a variety, right? Like you got to have like I think a lot of new bands think, let's put out an album, and it's like, dude, you don't even have like 4 songs. Like, you need to write more songs. And then bigger bands are now like, hey, we're only going to release singles, or we're only going to release EPs. But then everybody's saying, well, we want like a full experience, like you're saying, like the era side of like, so it's like, when you're new, I think it's a good idea to like put out more material, get people interested in who you are, and also just figure out who you are, like create music just to feel like, hey, do you dig this? And if people are like, no, then you're like, okay, I'm gonna do something different, thanks. And if you're bigger, it's like, well, people want that full, like the My Chem era experience of like, oh, it's the Black Parade, they're doing a whole tour, it's so amazing. And then you lose that if it's like, yeah, we put out 5 songs. It's like, well, what era is this?
Yeah,
is this an era?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like, if you're a new band, yeah, like it's good to put out singles because you learn a lot and like you just figure out what works and what doesn't. And then you figure out who you are as a band a lot faster when you just do singles and whatnot. And you definitely shouldn't embark on like a full length when you're a brand new band. That's just a recipe for disaster. But yeah, but you know, like I completely agree with you on that point. Yeah.
Lizzie.
Wow, look at that. And
We
you guys
trade
and you guys during quarantine, you did a cover actually of Steal My Sunshine, which is like a huge throwback, and I hadn't like heard that song in forever.
Yeah, we're just trying to do something fun, you know, like why not? Like that one, it's okay that it's like I said, like quarantine era, like because we're like I said, we're just trying to entertain people a little bit, right? While we're working on other stuff on the side. So we thought just like a nice little cover, because you know, we still play music, we're still a band, we're not just like internet beings that you're only going to see us in this like curated reality version of ourselves, where it's like, no, we're still a band, you know, we still play songs. So
still goof around.
That was fun to do.
Yeah.
Was there any like specific choice for that one? Like you said it was quarantine, but like were you trying to do like a quarantine cover type thing, or were you just like, we really dig the song, or how did you choose on that one?
It's kind of weird. Like it's almost like we didn't even choose it. It just like happened. Like it was both. Okay. It's kind of weird. Both one like kind of promoter person like that we know well hit us up about like they had like a virtual concert series or whatever. And they asked us to do like a song or two or whatever. And then we're like, okay, sure. And we were like on top of things and we had a lot going on. So we're like, we're just going to get to it. We're going to get done. So we got those done. And they're like, oh, no. Like we're not going to do this. And I'm like, okay. So, okay. And we're fine. And then, so also on one of the song choices, so for Steal My Sunshine, it wasn't even like our choices, like our fill-in bass player. He's just like, hey, what if we do this? I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do it. So it's like the weirdest thing, like literally like neither us as the band actively chose to do that. And neither did we actively choose the song. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, I know that song. It's nostalgic. It's cool. I'll do it.
But like I was glad to do it either way. Yeah,
a good like pop punk one that you can make into sort of like now style. I hate saying that there's like a 2021 pop punk style now, but I'm like, it kind of is. Like there's a vibe overproduction, lots of synths and lots of
808
tambourines and 808s. Oh,
normal.
It's a headache. But some stuff's really good though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is like as a purist, which I'm not. I don't think there's like a pure form of music or pop punk or whatever. Like I was always like, oh, they're putting synths in rock music. This is fucking great. And everyone's like, no, AFI is different now. Blink-182 is different now. It's like, I don't care. It's good.
It's good, man.
Yeah, if it's good, it's good. If the songs are good, if the choruses are catchy and all that, it's good. But now it's like that's so the sound, right? Like and I hate to say it because it pisses me off to even think it and believe it and say it out loud. But if MGK is now the blueprint of what pop punk is going to be in 2021,
it's like in 2014, 2015, every band had like punk beats and sounded like the story so far. Now it's like MGK. But
yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just hurting on the inside.
It sucks. It sucks. I don't want it.
MGK, yeah.
Like I think people forget that pop rock is a genre.
Yeah.
Right? That's a genre. Yeah. Why is this not pop rock? Because there's nothing about what they do that's similar to what we do. Like, and I'm not saying like to like say like, I'm not trying to exclude anyone. Like I said, I think you should listen to what you like. You should listen to it without any. Who cares what somebody else thinks about the music you like? If you like MGK, listen to the hell out of him. Right? I'm just saying though, like this whole classification thing, this whole genre politics, it's so annoying. It's like, I mean, I guess we play on one side of the genre politics that we're like. Don't want to be lumped in with that, but who, like, what do I care? Like, we're just gonna make music either way.
Like that since the 2000s, like pop punk goes from like underground genre, then like mainstream kind of picks it up, then it goes back underground, and some new wave comes along.
Yeah, and so it's funny. Like we were, like you said, you started to notice bands putting synths in their song and doing kind of more poppy, sugary production, and then this happens, like MGK happens. So we're kind of like always trying to do the opposite of what's going on, and maybe that doesn't give us any favors, but like if we see, so earlier on, like, you know, when we were starting 2015, 2016, like everyone's doing the raw, like Story So Far type pop punk, and then we noticed a slight shift into the poppier stuff with like influences from like the 1975 whatnot, and we kind of like we loved that, and we got into that and tried to implement that like earlier on, like 2018 or so. And then shortly after, I'm not saying us, like mainly like bands like Grayscale and like the bigger bands who were doing a lot of the time, they really like put it into like the more upper echelon of pop punk, but they like every band started doing this. It was so annoying with the 1975 ripoff songs. And I was like, okay, I do not want to be a part of this anymore. Like we're just going to pivot and do like our own, own thing. And so then, now we're kind of going back to a bit more of like an organic and real band sound. Cause I like listening to real bands. I don't want to see like two dudes and a computer, right? That's not a band to me. That's a project. That's a,
from the new ones, I like what Meet Me at the Altar are doing. Cause their sound is just like super organic. It sounds more like 4 years strong than anything that's like out. And they did
heavy guitars.
They signed to like Fueled by Ram, and they didn't change and become a pop rock band. They kind of kept their edge. Yeah.
Yeah, I followed them for the last few years and they have stayed consistent the entire way through. And I was like showing people a couple of years ago when I found them, like, you need to check out this band. Like, this band is like this pop punk you're looking for. And I can't tell you how many people dismissed it because they were like, oh, but it's chicks doing it. It just sounds like Paramore. I'm like, no, it's what you're looking for that's different. It is exactly what you were fucking looking for that is different. And they have just kept it like going. And like they're just like hitting it so hard. I'm like super happy to see them doing what they're doing.
I'm super stoked for it. I heard Chad talk about it. It was like for so many rounds they drove and like played to like 5-10 people and nobody cared. And everyone's like sometimes at shows they would be like they would think that it's like they're not a band and like wouldn't let them in because they're girls.
Yeah, and Paramore hasn't sounded like Paramore in 10 years, so like get over it, right? Like just let people be the band, and like don't also make that association too, right? Because Paramore didn't have like heavy ass guitars except for like early days, but there's no elements of easy core, there's no elements of modern pop punk. You know, it's just like different band. Like who cares?
Honestly, like, Meet Me at the Altar sound more like Knucklefuck than Paramore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if you actually listen to the songs, it's not like that, you know.
They'd have to listen to it then and form a different opinion besides girl vocals.
There you go.
Yeah.
So go listen before you judge. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't just associate that like a female vocalist. Everybody is just Hayley Williams. Like there's no comparison. Hayley Williams is just who she is herself.
Yeah,
everybody else is different. What I thought was like kind of cool was that some recent press releases we were getting in, or like if they did have like a female or like non-binary like lead, they started to put like instead of like for fans of, instead of them to being like Paramore and any other like, you know, either female fronted or, you know, non-binary fronted bands, you know, going with those same flow. It was like, I don't care. We're just going to go with any band we think sounds the same, even if it's like all dudes in it or whatever. I'm like, that's exactly the vibe we're supposed to go into now, because it gives me a much clearer like vision of it. Because if I listen to a band, they said, well, they sound like Paramore. This doesn't sound like any Paramore I've listened to. I like it, but this doesn't sound like any Paramore at all. Like, is it just because there's a chick? And it usually
is. Most like that's the most objective treatment of it, and that's like fair to everyone. And it's like it will help people find the right bands faster too.
Yeah, I think that's the real nature of it. Like, because like when I remember how I got into like Paramore and Flyleaf back in the day, I wasn't like actively looking for a band that had a female singer. That wasn't the point, right? Like I listened to the song. I'm like, that sounds great. I like this band. I don't care. Like they could be whoever, and they're great singer, they're great songs, right? I wasn't actively looking like along the lines of this very small box that you're gonna put an artist into, right? Like I was just like, Flyleaf, they're sick. Paramore, they're sick. And I also like all these other and they were sick to me because I like all these other pop punk and emo bands who don't happen to have a female singer. Like that's what I'm saying. Like you don't need to put it in a box like that, right? So I'm really glad, you know, that box is opening up and people are kind of, I feel like if you have that in your mind where you're going to put that in a box, it's because you don't listen to enough diverse music, right? And even just in other genres too, right? Like you should listen to more R&B, you should listen to more Japanese math rock, like just random stuff, because then you're going to break out of that like really linear bubble of thought. Yeah.
Everyone listen to more Japanese math rock. It's really good.
Oh yeah, totally, man. I love that crap.
Got me into that.
That's actually the second mention I've had of it today in just my regular life, and I'm like, wait, why are we talking about Japanese math rock so much today? I'm gonna go listen to some music out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great stuff.
Really good. Then I mean, I wanted to go more on that MGK route, but now I'm like, no, let's just get off MGK.
It's a politicized argument.
It is.
It is a very politicized argument.
Like, I guess it's very interesting to me now that genre lines are kind of blurring so much. Like, I know there are still people that are upset about it, and they're just kind of the loudest angry kid in the room because it's not going their way. But I think most people are just really happy that we get to like experiment, try different things. There's a lot more stuff you can do now. People can record by themselves completely. You can record in a room, you know, that is, you can record in your living room. You can just step out of your room and just go, I'm going to put down a guitar line today. And so it's this line is blurring. All this stuff is becoming more equitable for everybody. And yet at the same time, there's so many people that are like still angry. I'm like, but stop.
Yeah. Like I think it's great that people can now be independent and kind of do whatever they want to do, and without them being put in the box. yeah, it's definitely like there are definitely still some closed-minded people, but I see their amount reducing like by little, which is good.
Yeah, I see both sides of it. Like, I don't like those old school, like, people are like, I just want this kind of music. That kind of music already exists, so go listen to it and stop asking somebody else to be something they're not. So I respect that, and like, I'm not going to say, hey, MGK, stop being you, or stop doing the music you're doing, and people stop liking you. It's just like, if you like that, go listen to it. If you don't go listen to it. Listen to something else. At the same time, though, I'm trying to like help people recognize that it is a trend, right? Like this new, people are getting really hyped about, oh, he's bringing pop punk in the mainstream. It's a new wave. And I'm like, you know, I don't think any band like Knuckle Puck, Neck Deep, or whatever are going to be on Ellen's show because of MGK, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think this is a trend. Give it like 2 years, 3 years. Who's going to be like, oh, that, like, you know, like 3 or 4 years later, who's gonna be like, that Tickets to My Downfall album was timeless, you know, like that album was real. Like, nobody, I'm sorry, like unless you have a weird taste in, like, which is fine. Like some albums are really great when they come out and you'll listen to the hell out of them and it's great, but then you move on, and it's like, that's what I feel like with this, right? It's a trend. It's good when it happens. You get your fill, and then people move on. So that's why I'm saying, if you want to build a long career as a pop punk artist, you probably shouldn't try and pander to this trend, you know?
Yeah, I feel like you should just be yourself and just make music that you want to be making. And it's not really think about any trends, and just do what you feel like, and then that's real and people will connect to it.
I guess if I just want to ask you and get your opinion on this too, because obviously, like, Knuckle Puck, Neck Deep, they're not going to be on Ellen. But then I was like, well, All Time Low was, though. And All Time Low is now having like their second biggest album, their second biggest like resurgence of their career with their oldest song and their newest song. It's what are your thoughts on like an older band like that? Like, do you think that's going to last? Do you think that's going to be timeless? Or do you think that's going to be also like kind of dated?
I think that album was already timeless, and it just got like brought back up because the genre is breaking back up. But I don't think it was because of like MGK or like just that specifically. I think just All Time Low just already had the music that was like timeless.
Yeah, and they work hard. Like they work as hard now as they did when they were trying to like come up and they blew up, right? Like that's the difference too. Like a lot of these, like, you know, new modern wave pop punk bands, like they have their rise, but then it kind of just like fizzles out, right? And they don't try and do enough. They don't try to take that next step. They kind of just do their thing and that's it, right? Whereas All Time Low, they're constantly adapting, constantly trying to be, and they're really good songwriters. Like they're not going to put out a song and just think, oh, because we're All Time Low, people will like this, which I'm sorry, like a lot of the newer pop punk bands do. Like the new modern ones, they'll put out an album every year and a half just because they can and be like, oh, we're this band, so people are just going to like it. And I think that's a horrible way to go about it, because people are going to stop liking you because your music is taking a downturn.
Like I think Wake Up Sunshine had their like best songwriting in like years, and that's why they're relevant again, because they're killing it. That's mainly why. And there's also a lot of people who like grew up on this kind of pop punk and like entering their like late 20s, 30s, and it's nostalgic to them. So I feel like TikTok even before was a lot of younger people, but now like in the last year, a lot of like older people join it, and like because of that whole like emo older music 2000s trend kind of came back. Like I've seen that a lot of that happening at least.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of it. Like looking, especially like going back to All Time Low, looking at Wake Up Sunshine, I didn't like anything that after Nothing Personal, just me, because I just couldn't get into it. But when I listened to Wake Up Sunshine, it was definitely like, oh, this is just old school with a little bit of like new flair. Like they know what they're doing, and just looking what they've done. I mean, like they're pandering because they know that everybody is like getting to like I'm a tired millennial, or they're a wine mom. They're like, here's some wine. Here's this. Here's my live stream. Like
moms.
All Time Low for wine moms. And like they're
yeah, exactly. They keep that's a good point. They keep making music that's also relevant to people who grew up on their music. I feel like some bands, they make music for like teenagers, and then their fan base grows up and they're not into that band anymore.
Yeah.
I was never a huge fan of All Time Low. I do kind of like their new stuff, and Dear Maria, I was like, yeah, people seem to know this one. I'll play it at a DJ night, and so you just like kind of have to like it. You're like, whatever, I guess it's fine. But I was never like a huge fan, and now I'm like, oh, actually, All Time Low. You know what? They're actually pretty good. I think I'll, check out this record. I'll check out these songs. I'm like, fuck, I think I like All Time Low now. Sucks.
Yeah, my first concert I saw in Canada was actually All Time Low, but I actually had no idea who they were. I just went to see Yellow Card, and
oh my god,
yeah, All Time Low were just supporting them, and I was like, oh, these guys are actually super fun, and then I got into them. It was on their I think it was. The album was like Summer in Neverland tour. What's that album?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Don't Panic. There we go.
Don't Panic. Yeah. Okay. I watched them. I watched them play a few songs as I left a concert they were headlining because I was like, I don't care. I came for all the openers, and I was like, I gotta go. I gotta beat traffic.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm like 100. I get tired. It's already late. I think I have dinner at 3 p.m. and then I go to bed.
Oh my god.
I'm not. I am an older, and it sucks though.
It's okay. You can be trending on all the social sites. I mean, like, here's my wisdom. Like on TikTok, I saw when Dear Maria blew up. Oh, there was a bunch of people who were like, "Did you know this isn't on their like hit album, Nothing Personal?" I'm like, "Yeah, where have you been?"
Yeah,
it's not a completely different album, guys.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, I
on
hate
the EP,
TikTok.
right?
Think
It
so.
was on. Yeah, Dear Maria was on. Wasn't so. It was so wrong. It was right. Yeah, it was so wrong. It's right.
That was an EP, wasn't it? Like 6-song EP, was it?
Put Up or Shut Up. That was an EP, right?
Put Up or Shut Up was the EP.
Put Up or Shut Up
I think that's what we're
yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wrong It's Right was like a full album. I think it's like
album, yeah.
kind of shorter in song length though, comparatively. So you'd be like, okay, this might be an EP.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't. I'm trying to like dig back like 10, 15 years ago, and my brain.
I know. I was like trying to think. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, like it's. But anyways, yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, like. Yeah.
Just that's what I hate the most about TikTok is like, you have 1 minute of time to make whatever you want, and then you just explain something that somebody else could Google. It's like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Is that successful?
Okay.
Is that good? Is that like?
It's because people have short attention span and they don't want to Google it. They just want to get served content.
I need to find this information out. I'm gonna go to TikTok and swipe for a while until it comes up information for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new thing. I try not to spend time on TikTok because I know my brain cells will shrink.
Yeah, I honestly don't really spend much time on it looking. I like creating stuff and I like connecting to people, but I don't really like being on it too much.
Yeah. Being creative is always fun. Like, and it's a new way to be creative, so I like it for that reason. But I don't personally use it. So,
I really Lizzie is our TikTok person. She runs our account. I have gotten sucked down a hole of Instagram reels, which are just 30-second TikToks, repurposed. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, yeah, at least I'm on Instagram and I'm not on TikTok. It's like I'm doing exactly the same shit.
Instagram reels are like for people who don't want to go on TikTok but still want to
want TikToks. It's like
you just don't want to admit it to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want to have, they wanted the bragging rights to be like, I'm not on TikTok. I'm not like those kids. It's like, okay, you are though, and you're worse because these are 30 seconds. This is a minute, or now they have 3-minute ones for certain people. It's like, you're worse. You're worse than
You're worse than that.
Reels are good for creators though, because at least Instagram pushes them to.
Yeah. We get more hits on our reels that we like repurpose on like Instagram than we do on like TikTok sometimes. I'm like, it's kind of jank, but okay. I guess it works.
It just is what it is. Like every platform's like, give people what they want. Please make more stuff here. Like I remember they were saying like, we're not going to push any videos that have like the TikTok thing in the video because it's like they want it to be like Instagram Reels specific, and so they're like going to suppress some of that. And I think they were immediately like, yeah, never mind, that's all people are doing.
I think they canceled it after. I think they canceled that. But at first I could see like if I post the TikTok one and it doesn't like reach people, and then they realize they're probably killing their feature. Because like 90% of content people are posting are just from their TikTok.
look, just give people what they want, and it's TikTok on another app, apparently.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what happens to it with everything in the last few years. That's what happened to stories. It's like one platform adds something that people like, and then every other platform has it.
Give them stories. Twitter has stories now.
Yeah.
No, they're called fleets.
They're
called
stories. They're
What?
It's really bad. Nobody uses them. I have one friend, he just does Fleet Friday, and then he just tags a bunch of his friends, and it's like, all right, post your like most ridiculous selfie of what you're doing today. And I'm like, this is the only productive feature I have seen for fleets specifically on Twitter.
There's no. I post fleets sometimes. 3 people watch it, so
Yeah, like people forget that it's even there.
Yeah.
yeah, because that's not what Twitter is for. If people want to be visual, they can just go to Instagram.
Yeah. Like Twitter's for making really any posts.
And
then
now I
takes.
saw the post from like Spotify that they're gonna add like TikTok kind of feature and Spotify.
Yeah, that's too much.
Interesting.
Spotify has to
I
stay
don't know
just
if they're
doing
gonna
what
do
it's doing.
But that's not what they're going to do because they want to make more money.
Of course they do.
Yeah, they want people to like stay more on the platform, so they like.
But,
That's why they're giving artists like merch from Spotify or like concert tickets.
like, you're a music app. Your job is to be in the background.
And take royalties from artists.
Yeah.
That's what you,
Yeah.
You're
that's what
supposed
you
to
do.
pay people very little to be in the background of everyone's life.
Yeah.
Well, now that we're talking about social, we should give you a moment to plug everything, and feel free to start with like Bandcamp or anywhere people can support you more. Give you all the royalties just to you rather than like Spotify and shit. But if you want to throw,
ironically, yeah, Spotify is probably the best place.
Yeah,
well, that's also fair too.
the hold they have.
Yeah.
Then you'll get,
It's
you'll get
not
all
my
our-
choice.
You get all our releases in your playlist on the day. So if you
Yeah.
follow us, and then all our socials are just at Incasewecrash.
Yeah, if you want to see the new music video, go to YouTube. Good old fashioned YouTube.
Good old YouTube.
Watch
Yeah.
yourself a music video.
Yeah, it drops. We're gonna make it public at midnight. The song itself dropped in Australia already, I think, but it's gonna. It drops at like midnight of local time,
Yeah.
wherever.
You can use a
wherever you are.
VPN if you want to go listen to it now.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
This video is sponsored by
Australia.
YouTube, who's never done anything bad.
Oh my god.
Go check out the video there. You guys, okay, this might be a US versus Canada thing, but did you have TRL and that on MTV in Canada at all growing up?
Nope.
Okay, was there?
I grew up in Europe. That's how I
Yeah.
discovered all the pop punk bands, like on MTV.
Okay.
MTV2.
Okay.
It was called MTV2 in Europe, and
Yeah.
they played like all the alternative pop punk kind of stuff.
We had a thing called Much Music, which was
Yeah,
the
okay.
Canadian
Oh
one.
yes, I remember
then-
seeing stuff from that.
It was good, and then they stopped playing music.
Yeah.
They turned
They all
into a
did.
reality TV show channel.
Yep, as they all
Oh,
did.
so it's the MTV track too.
The MTV.
then. Okay.
It's MTV of Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, we're like, I mean, I think there's a opportunity. I think that there's a space for like a discovery platform like that is essentially just people like us, people like other podcasts or whatever, like putting up music videos and being like, hey, here's our like top 10 of the week, hosting like a little show like that. Like Lizzie is clearly our Carson Daly or our host of that. And it's like just like introducing like new music videos, because I'm like, yeah, that was like how a lot of those bands broke back in the day. It's how a lot of people discovered new music like that. And I'm like, there's really this hole for music videos. Just like, yeah, go to YouTube and like hope it pops up in an algorithm, and like, where is the host saying like, hey, here's this new band, and here we are, like they're playing dumb games in a studio or something.
Yeah, I still listen to the radio, so
Really?
here and there,
Well
yeah,
done.
I do.
Love
I feel
it. Thank you.
feel like
Thank you
more
for giving
people
me
in
my
Canada-
job.
Yeah.
I feel like more people in Canada listen to radio than in the States.
We're a little bit more old fashioned, I guess.
Yes,
Down here, everything is like integrating to like podcasts or like just live streaming. I can't tell you how many people have like told me like this last like handful of years are like, well, radio, it's kind of obsolete now, blah, blah, blah. But then like during like shutdown and pandemic, like everybody was listening to the radio in some way, shape, or form, mainly news radio, obviously, because you want to know what the hell's going on. But I also thought it was crazy because there's bands still that are like getting really excited. They're like, oh my God, like my song's going to be on the radio. And I'm like, okay, but then why are you shit talking it like not being relevant anymore? Like, can we unpack that real quick? Because it sounds like so pretty relevant and like a higher praise than being like, oh, hey, I'm on the Spotify playlist by comparison, because like you're getting out to like your localized area more often than not, unless you're on like Sirius XM, then obviously that's national, international. And I just always have found that like such a crazy like argument people have.
Yeah, I'd be down to hear any band I like on the radio still. That would hype me up. If I heard like a band that when I hear the Dirty Nil on the radio, I get so hyped. I'm like, yo, those are my boys. I don't actually like know them, but I'm like really excited.
They could
because,
be
like,
your boys.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe in a little bit. I mean, Luke just added me on Facebook.
Oh shit, it's all going down.
It's coming. It's getting there.
Yeah, I have Ross's number on my phone.
What's his name?
Yeah, because I bought a bass from him, but so it doesn't count. I'm a fan. Let's put it that way. I'm not a friend.
No, they're sick. They're sick.
Yeah.
Really good.
Do you feel like then we need to have a lot less like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Foo Fighters on the radio? We need a lot more like newer bands.
I love Chili's and Foo. That's what, because we have like an alternative radio in Toronto, and that's like so they used to only play that stuff, like the super alternative, which I love. That's what I grew up on. And then they started to put this new like pop folky alternative crap that I hate.
Yeah.
Like the boom, 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 with the booms and the kicks and the claps and the folk guitar. Home, let me go. And like stuff like that. Like that's all we hear now. And I'm like, but then they have their like 90s nooners where like it's like noon and they play all like 90s alternative rock and stuff. And they still have those periods of time where they'll play like Alexisonfire on the radio and stuff like that, right? So I just want more of that. Not the stupid Lumineers type crap.
Yeah.
I had to like go through my I work with the National Radio Archives, and like I went through all of our radio stations and like the music catalog that we have, and I'm like, why do we have 30 songs from just the Foo Fighters? Why do I have to listen to 30 songs of Foo Fighters with 3 different versions of Everlong?
Yep.
Because it's awesome. Rock and roll.
Oh God. But like then I see like the newer stuff that's going on, and then I have access to like where every state is playing what what their playlists are throughout the day. And I'm like, now they're starting to mix it up with like some of this newer stuff that you're talking about, but also like the newer, like the emo rap and such. But then I'm like, oh, there's My Chemical Romance. Oh, here's Fall Out Boy. Oh, here's like some of these older bands starting to mix in. I think like they're starting to get it a little bit, but it's still going. Because every week I look through and I'm like, we're getting there. We're getting there. Let's keep it going. We're doing well. We're finally kicking it into high gear. I enjoy that.
There are bands besides the Foo Fighters, and that doesn't take anything away from the Foo Fighters. Just there are other bands too.
They demand 30% of all alternative rock radio play. It's 30%, or you get nothing.
Ridiculous.
I think Weezer is going to end up taking that spot.
Ooh.
They're going to move in. I can't again. 30 Weezer songs. I enjoy Weezer, but I'm like, there's a lot of Weezer here, guys.
A lot of,
but like
Weezer
they're like the new Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like I feel like we're going to hear Weezer for like the next 30, 40 years on alternative radio, and we're going to be like, why is Weezer still here? We're going to be like, I don't know, but it hits. I'm just going to accept it, and we're just going to move on in life.
Weezer is excellent.
Yeah, and we also know that no alternative bands will ever be that big again.
Yeah.
Never gonna happen again.
Too many legs.
And we get MGK instead, you know.
Look, he won an award for being the best rock of all time. Of the year. What? He won like a Billboard Music Award, which I didn't know was a thing until everybody was so mad about him winning best rock album of the year.
Death Punch was like on there too, and I was very confused because I saw it and I'm like, Five Finger Death Punch.
Well, they're rock and roll, baby. They're
I like the 5 Finger Death Punch Machine Gun Kelly. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
Throw the collab together. They're gonna be like, "Is this what the kids want?" No. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants this collab. We reached out to Machinery
Gunnery, and he said no. He didn't want to be on our 5 Finger Death Punch album. He didn't want.
I had to watch 5 Finger Death Punch once because I had no other choice.
Were you trapped at a concert? Were you like?
Yeah, it was at a concert. It was at the our Budweiser stage.
big
But it was just somebody I actually liked was playing after them.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, so you had to sit there and be like, all right, this is what I live with right now.
Their fan base was interesting. They kind of just invaded that it was just like these big dads in like biker jackets.
Oh God.
Yeah. All tracks to me.
Tracks.
I have zero interest in ever being in that environment, I guess.
It's just volatile.
Yeah. Rough. Well, we are out of an hour. So we will go ahead and we will end the recording of the podcast there. We'll continue to hang out over on Twitch for a little while. So if you're listening to this on Monday, you missed it on Twitch, and you should come and check us out when we stream these live episodes. If you are listening, make sure that you check out Incasewecrash on all the socials. 1 million views on the music video. If you're listening to this, it's out now. So go
put it on in the background. Just let it roll through.
1 million views. Period.
Overnight. 30 seconds from release. You know?
What are you even waiting for? To just get to 1 million. I mean, 3 minutes. Yeah, it's like it's going to take forever. But anyway, 1 million. Well, everybody, 1 million people watch it at release. That will do it.
It's group work. It's everyone just comes in together for one common goal.
Yeah, together.
This is my expectation, and if it doesn't happen, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, you disappoint the band. But yeah, check everybody out. Check everything out on all the platforms. Follow, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Simon and Alex, thank you for being on the podcast today. This was awesome.
Yeah, once again, thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, of course.